Hello, my name is J.J. Jones, and I'm the Area Ag Economist for the Southeast District of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service. And I'm here today to visit with you about livestock marketing. First of all, livestock marketing is something that most producers fail to do a really good job on because it's so easy to sell livestock here in Oklahoma, and so therefore they don't think they need to spend that much time on it. But livestock marketing is something that we can, if producers spend a little more time on, actually be able to realize the potential or the profits from that efforts that they do. So let's get started. First of all, let's just do a definition of what is livestock marketing. And we look at the MIT Dictionary of Modern Economics. It defines marketing as a term used to cover those activities of firms associated with the sales and distributions of products. If we broaden that definition out just a little bit and kind of look at it the way producers look at it, it's the process of monitoring input and output market conditions and managing market risk and controlling the movement of products into the market. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the monitoring of the output market conditions and controlling the movement in the market. The market risk component of marketing is a topic for another day and be covered in another video. When we talk about livestock marketing, the thing is every operation should develop a plan, a marketing plan that encompasses everything that they sell. Now the thing is that even though there might be similarities in your operation to other operations, no two plans are going to be identical, and so everybody should look and evaluate their plans based on their operation. The other thing is about producers and operations. They should always develop a plan for every product that producers expect to sell. Now, a lot of times producers don't think they only have maybe just one product. For example, cow-calf operations think they only sell calves. We're going to talk about how that's not always the case and that we should evaluate each aspect of the operation and develop a plan for that product. So when we talk about developing a marketing plan, I always talk about producers must answer the three questions, the three W's of marketing, and that's what they're going to sell, where they're going to sell it, and when they're going to sell it. And we're going to talk about each of these in great detail. First, let's talk about the what. When we talk about what we're going to sell, I'm not going to talk about the breeds and the different aspects of all the breeds. I'm not so much hung up on that as I am the different types of animals that you're going to sell. For example, the difference between market and replacement animals. When we talk about market animals, we're talking about what size, what weight. When we talk the sex of the animal, are we going to sell castrated males or intact males? And then we keep getting into the breed of those animals as well. The replacement animals, we got to think about what age we're going to sell them at. Are we going to sell them as open, or are we going to sell them as bred? And then when we talk about the sex, are we going to sell bulls, or are we just going to sell replacement females? The other part that we can look at as far as marketing goes is niche markets. Can we fit? Does our operation fit into these niche markets like natural and organic? Can we fit into those and sell our animals into that and realize that higher price that some of these markets get? Again, we need to come up with a marketing plan for each type of animals and evaluate our operation to see what those types of animals are. Now let's talk about the where we're going to sell our animals. Here in Oklahoma, we're lucky from the standpoint that there's auction barns relatively close to every operation. So, where to sell sometimes is a little trickier question to answer. But let's look at it from a broader standpoint of where we want to sell, because what we're really trying to do is we're trying to get our product to the consumer. That's who's going to the final destination of our product, and it would be really great if we could go straight to the consumer, but that's not always the case, or really hardly ever the case. Typically we have to sell into a local market. That local market may sell into another regional type market that goes then into processors, purveyors, maybe down in the retail then, and then down finally to the consumer, or in the food service and then consumer. So you can see that there's lots of different sections that our products go into, and so we've got to figure out what's the best channel. And then sometimes we maybe we skip the local market, go straight to regional. Maybe we skip the markets altogether, sell to an order buyer or a trader or middleman. But in the end, they have to follow and go to the same process steps that we went through. Sometimes we can sell into cooperatives, and then those cooperatives sell into those markets as well. So when we think about marketing, we got to think about the channels that we're going to go through. And sometimes, if we can, we cut out some of these steps and maybe realize some of the higher profits. Now let's talk about where in a little greater detail. The first where we're going to talk about is straight off the farm. This is a really nice place for producers to sell. We don't have to pay commissions or transportation costs. The buyers come to us. Uh, the the con to this is that we really need to know what the current market situation is, so we actually have a true value of what our animals are worth, and therefore we can price those animals accordingly. We do need to know the weight of those animals, and so therefore scales may be needed. And then also there's the thought of payment for those animals. We're now taking the risk that that payment may be bad. The next place that we can go to, most livestock operators use, is what we call auction barns. They're the very easiest way to sell. Like I said, there's lots of them here in Oklahoma that we can use. There's no problems in collecting the money. Like I mentioned before, if we sell off the farm, we take the risk that payment is not going to be good. But when we go to auction barns, we're not worried about that payment. Payment's always good. From those auction barns. The problem with using auction barns is, again, you have to pay the commissions and the other costs associated with selling, transportation and stuff. Also, too, you may not receive the complete worth of that livestock. So your animals may be better than the average animals in that sale at that day, but you may not get the better price because you're grouped in there with all of those other animals. So sometimes we may not receive that as well. Other places that we can sell, there are special sales. The thing about special sales is you have to have that type of product to fit into that sale. Like maybe a replacement female sale where they're selling animals for replacements, or maybe you wanted to hit a farmer's market. And now when we're talking about selling the farmer's market, we're talking about selling typically a finished product. So now you have to hold that animal until harvest and get it processed and then sell that and deal with the rules and regulations as that. But again, those are other places where we can sell our product. Now let's switch gears and talk about when to sell your livestock. When we talk about when to sell, uh, a lot of times producers focus on the markets and trying to hit the high points in the market. And I'm going to tell you the best time to sell your livestock will depend upon matching up your optimum production schedule with the optimum marketing time. And for each producer, that's going to be a bit different. When marketing your animals, you really have to look at your production schedule because the marketing time is determined upon your production schedule. So you need to consider your complete production schedule before determining your marketing dates. And I've got a little example here I want to show you. In my example here with matching production with marketing, I'm going to use goats as an example. And here our target time to sell our animals we're going to look at is March. And the reason why we're looking at March is that's typically the high point of the market. So in goats, we typically wean those animals in about 100 days. So we back up that 90 to 100 days. And that means that we're going to kid or have those animals born in late November and December. The issue with that is that's usually not the best time to kid out goats in Oklahoma. The weather may be a problem, mortality could be a problem. And also another issue is that during that time frame from November, December till March, there's not a great deal of forage or browse available for those animals to eat. So therefore, all the nutrition that those animals are needing, we're going to have to feed to them out of a bag or out of a hay bale. We back up from that kidding date, back up 150 days from gestation. That means we're going to breed in July. The issue we have with breeding in July is conception rates may not be the highest. Goats are short-time breeders, short-day breeders, and therefore conception rates may not be the best. So we can see that by having a target date in March, there's several issues we have to address. Not that those issues are cannot be overcome, but those issues that need to be addressed before we actually start breeding out in July and doing this. So here we look at a goat example, kind of using the easiest time frame. We're going to sell in August and September. That's typically the issue we have there. That's when the market is trending downward for goats. But we back up that 100 days and we're a kid in May and June. There's no problems, no weather problems. Maybe one issue may be that the summer kids may not grow as well as the winter kids do. But also we have plenty of forage available from that May, June date to August, September to feed those animals as well. We back up 150 days from that. We're going to try to breed in December. Again, that's a perfect time frame for goats to be breeding, and breeding shouldn't be a problem, so conception rate shouldn't be a problem. So here this example, so there's less issues to deal with, but we're going to deal with a lower price. So we have to kind of work out in our own operation what is best for us in our operation. Again, when we talk about when, most livestock prices have seasonal patterns to them, and what seasonal patterns means is throughout the year, there's times throughout the year that the average or the price is actually higher than average, and then there's times that it's actually lower than average, and it's called a seasonal price index. And all the animals, livestock species have this seasonal price index, which kind of indicates the better times of the year to sell our animals. Now, these changes in these indexes are generally caused by increased demand, such as holidays, like the summer barbecue season, or in the goat industry, some of the ethnic holidays, or decreased supply, production cycles. Again, it's not very in Oklahoma. Most cattle producers calve out in the wintertime, early springtime, and then sell in the fall. So supply of cattle's to be bought in the spring or early winter or late winter time is not as high as it is in the fall, and so that affects prices as well. Here I have this chart of the Oklahoma cattle seasonal price chart here, and that red line that shows the average for the year. We look at 5 to 6 weight steers, and here you can see here that the high for that market, it kind of occurs, it's above average from about March until about August, July and August, and then it starts to tail off, and the low time of the year is in that fall of the year. When we look at the price seasonal price chart for 7 to 8 weight steers, it's different. The low time of the year for those 7 to 8 weight steers is that springtime, February, March, and April, and the high time in the summer, in the July, August, September time period. So this kind of shows that it depends on the class of animal, the size of animal that you're going to sell. The price charts or seasonal price charts can be different. Again, we look at and compare 7 to 8 weight steers to a fed steer, and again, it's even different. The high is in the springtime, and the low in the summertime, and then the average throughout the rest of the year. And then we look at utility cows again, another just difference in pattern. Consider the low occurs there in October, November time period, and that's typically when most cattle guys have a tendency to cull their cows, is before the winter feeding period starts, and therefore the supply of those markets kind of floods the market, depresses the price. And so why not keep those cows maybe a couple extra months and feed them up until January, February, or March and get a little higher price? That's a way we can kind of look at these seasonal price charts to kind of determine when we're going to sell our animals. Another thing when we're talking about marketing that we need to look at is value added opportunities. We need to kind of consider those. One such opportunity in cattle operations may precondition those cattle, keeping those cattle for a 45 to 60 days past weaning, teaching those calves to eat and drink, make sure they have all their vaccinations. On average, those preconditioning type operations kind of average about $10 to $15 per hundredweight premium for those calves. But again, does it fit your resources? Does it fit your marketing abilities to do that? You got to judge that for yourself. We could also look at cooperative marketing and purchasing opportunities. Maybe we want to retain their ownership through custom feeding, and that's again more along the lines. If we want to do that, maybe we're going to look at those niche markets. Are we going to sell organic or natural livestock products to these folks? And when we talk about those niche markets, we got to really make sure that there is a marketing opportunity. Are those markets available in my area, or how far will I have to travel to market that product? Those products, those niche markets like organic and natural, are not as large in the rural areas as they are in the urban areas of Oklahoma. So in conclusions, just make sure that one thing to know: every livestock operation needs a plan to develop a marketing plan, and they need to develop a marketing plan for each product that they plan to sell. Got to remember that 3 W's: what you're going to sell, where you're going to sell it, and when you're going to sell it. And then make sure you consider production schedules when you're determining those marketing plans. And then also to take time and investigate those value-added opportunities that are available to you as well. That concludes the section over livestock marketing. If you have any questions, please contact your local county OSU County Extension agent. And with that, have a good day.